The Lions leader is back.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Matt Dery with you. It is a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Tuesday, May 21st into Wednesday, May 22nd. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe and watch us for free on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Shout out, holler at our everydayers that are out there each and every day listening or watching. I got a list of everydayers. Thank you to guys like Paul Manellis, Chubbs, Kirk Kessler, Lions Superfan, Go Lions 09, Kevin Kelly, and yes, the legendary 97 won the tickets own Brian Chapman. Chappie, thank you for checking us out and being a part of Locked On Lions on the listenership and viewership side. Locked On Lions today is brought to you by Gametime. Get those tickets now. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Follow me on Twitter at Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions, and of course the Matt Dery Facebook fan page as well. Coming up on the show today, big news is that the Lions released some pictures from their first OTA practice today out in Allen Park. And yes, the head coach was pictured. That's a story. I'm sorry, it is. We'll get into that coming up momentarily. Also, some OTA observations. The Packers already having some issues. Love that. And the full preseason schedule with game times all released today. We'll get to all of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Thanks to everybody for checking us out as we talk Lions football each and every day on this very network. The Locked On Podcast Network is killing it. We're doing great and appreciate all of you for chiming in. Got some fishing. My fishing pole is out. Got a couple of guests hoping to land later on this week, so we'll keep you posted on that. All right. I didn't make a big deal out of this because the Lions just said Dan Campbell not at rookie minicamp due to personal reasons, and there was nothing else said. I did not make a big deal out of it because there were no reports. There were no Dave Burkett's or Justin Rogers or Kyle Meinke's or anybody like that reporting anything about it. But look, when you have the most important figure in Detroit sports not participating in something and they're missing practices or games or whatever it is for personal reasons, my radar goes up a little bit. I also sent some messages to people I know within and around the organization, and no one responded. It wasn't like, oh, it's nothing, or oh, he had a death in the family, or oh, someone wasn't feeling well, or oh, we had to travel for something. So I freaked out a little bit. But today, kudos to the Lions for doing this. At DetroitLions.com, the team put out about 40 pictures on their website of participants at today's OTAs. And credit to John Macaroon from Lions, All Lions on SI.com, the Detroit Sports Podcast. He was the first to tweet out earlier today that, yes, in fact, Dan Campbell is pictured in picture 39 of 40. Picture number 39 is Dan Campbell standing on the sidelines with the whistle in his mouth. There you go. So credit to John Macaroon for being the first to put that out there. But, whew, thank goodness. All right. You just don't want any health issues. You just don't want any issues, period, when we're talking about this football team. And especially with Dan Campbell, who is just so important to the success of this franchise. And yes, I'm sure Ben Johnson could run the team, or Aaron Glenn, or somebody else, but it's good to see Dan back. It's just, I know some fans don't think he's a great coach. I know some fans are blaming him for the NFC Championship game. I get that that's out there. But if you think about what he's meant to this program, what he's meant to this organization, what he's meant to this franchise, what he's meant the first 3 years, to take this club from 3 wins and a laughingstock to 9 wins to 12 wins to winning 2 playoff games in a single season, which had not been done since 1957. I'm not saying we're building a statue yet of Dan Campbell. I'm not telling you that he's the next Vince Lombardi or that he's Bill Belichick or anything like that. But if the Lions are going to have success, starts and ends with their head coach and their leader. All right. Jared Goff signs his contract, gets up on the podium and says, Dan means so much to me. Dan shows confidence in me. All right. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, all of these guys. You've got free agents that have said, I want to come to Detroit and play for Dan Campbell. You got draft picks like Terrion Arnold saying, I can't wait to play for this guy. All right. We've got a real coach here. All right. End of the Red Wings season. You had people questioning whether Lalone is the right guy. Right? Monty Williams was an utter disaster in his first year as Pistons head coach. All right. Tiger manager A.J. Hinch. I know he invented baseball in some people's minds. He's a losing record every year with this team. We've got a football coach in this town, a good one. We had a really good one down in Ann Arbor, and he's gone. So my radar was up. I'm glad he was back today at OTAs, organized team activities, as the team worked out voluntarily. But the fact that you saw him pictured is awesome. That's all I'll say on it. It makes me happy. As far as some OTA observations, there's two things I'm looking for right now, and we'll get more clarity maybe tomorrow or the next day when Dan Campbell does speak to the media. But again, these are voluntary workouts, so not everything is a daily media session like it is at training camp. Two things I'm looking for. Number one is Brian Branch out there. Now, he was not featured in the 40 pictures that the Lions photographers took at DetroitLions.com today. So I do not know if Brian Branch, the second-year safety / cornerback, is practicing or is healthy. If you recall, around draft time or at the draft, Branch was spotted on a scooter with a boot on, I believe, his left foot, and it was elevated. And everybody's like, uh-oh, what's going on with Brian Branch? Is he healthy? You know, you look at the Lions defense, and you see some very important pieces like Aiden Hutchinson. All right, if Aiden Hutchinson's out, who's rushing the quarterback? Aleem McNeil. We saw how soft the underbelly of that interior of the Lions defensive line was last year when McNeil was not there. DJ Reader is so important, right? We love Alex Anzalone on this show, the Gaines Media poster boy, who's become a leader in the middle of the field for Detroit at that Mike linebacker spot. Certainly the defensive backs, Carlton Davis, need him to be healthy. Terrion Arnold, all these guys. Kirby Joseph's a really good safety. But Brian Branch is just, when he was gone last year and was out with a couple of games with injuries, he's just so good. He's around the ball. He can hit. He makes plays on the ball. The pick 6 in week 1. Brian Branch has the opportunity to really elevate his game this year. And you want him healthy 100%. Now, again, Lions have not, nobody publicly has talked about his health yet in terms of the walking boot and everything else. But I'm interested in seeing if he's going to get out there eventually here or if he's not going to be ready until training camp. That's number one. Another thing that I want to watch at OTAs is wide receiver 4. All right, we know this. Amon-Ra St. Brown is wide receiver 1. The guy is an elite receiver. He's the highest paid receiver in the game, and he's Jared Goff's favorite target. Wide receiver 2 is going to have to be Jamison Williams. It's time for JMO in year 3 as a first-round pick to step up, show that talent that the Lions are crazy about, and start making plays on the ball down the field and being a high-impact, electric receiver. I think he can do that. Wide receiver number 3, in my mind, is when he's healthy, is Khalif Raymond. Jared Goff said it the other day. I think it was on the radio on the ticket. He called in on his own on the midday show. Khalif Raymond is underrated. Getting him the football in space, running past defenders, the speed, the reliability with his hands. And I know he was out for a lot of the end of the season last year. But Raymond is, to me, wide receiver 3. Josh Reynolds was wide receiver 3 last year, or 3/4. He's gone. He's now in Denver. So one of my neighbors in Denver. Anyway, who's it going to be? Antoine Green. Is he going to have a good OTAs? Is he going to be somebody that flashes? Or Donovan Peoples-Jones, the pride of Detroit and the University of Michigan? Brad Holmes made it a point a few weeks ago of saying they feel like one of those two guys is going to step up. The question is, during these organized team activities, who's flashing? Who's making plays down the field? Who's making circus catches? Who's high pointing the football? Can DPJ DPJ at Michigan made some big plays. When he was in Cleveland, he was fine. He had one really good year, one decent year. Antoine Green is a 7th-round pick from UNC that basically ran some routes last year, caught one ball, and we didn't see much from him. But now he's getting a chance. And Brad Holmes likes him. So who is it going to be? Who's going to be that 4th receiver? I think during OTAs, we can find out pretty quickly who that guy is going to be. I'm interested too in Isaiah Williams, the kid from Illinois, undrafted, if he's going to show some flashes as well. All right, coming up next, our man Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers. He thinks the Packers have the better roster, and some people are picking Green Bay to maybe sneak past the Lions. 2 issues of note already coming out regarding the go Pack go. We will explain coming up next right here on a Tuesday edition of a Locked On Lions. All right, folks, we've told you before about Gametime. You can go on the Gametime app right now and look for tickets. If you want to take your kid, listen, I'm going to bring this up in a second. Lions Steelers is a day game for preseason game number 3 on August 24th, and I'll explain that in a second. Great opportunity to take the kids to a game and not have to spend $200, $300, $400. All right, go on Gametime right now and hop on there and get your Lions and Steelers tickets. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. Schedule is out. We know you got some big-time opponents coming into Ford Field, including the Sunday night opener against the Rams, Monday night against Seattle, Thursday night game against the Packers, Thanksgiving Day against the Bears. You want tickets to that, get to the Gametime app. It is fantastic. That view from your seat is awesome. All-in pricing, toggling this feature shows the total price up front with no surprise fees at checkout. That is an advantage that Gametime gives you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, it's Monday edition, or I should say Tuesday edition, everybody, of Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to check out Locked On Detroit Sports with Jake Riepma. He'll be on after the Tiger game tonight against the Royals. Last night, not a very good game for the local 9, as they say, but Jake does a great job. Subscribe and watch that on YouTube, Locked On Detroit Sports. It's the postcast tonight after the Tiger game with the host, Jake Riepma. So check that out, please. All right, so we heard it. We heard from our buddy Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers. We've seen some people already predicting Green Bay to overtake Detroit with their young roster, Jordan Love and all these guys, getting Josh Jacobs, overtaking the Lions for the top spot in the NFC North. I say hogwash. I call bull, you know what. I'm not seeing it yet. Like the Packers, think they can make the playoffs. Don't see them overtaking the Lions. 2 notes came out of Green Bay today that I found interesting. The first one was from our buddy Rob Demovsky, who covers the Packers for ESPN. He tweeted out today at Matt LaFleur's OTA's press conference, quote, Matt LaFleur said time will tell if they've gotten a handle on Christian Watson's hamstring issues, but so far so good. LaFleur said, quote, if we get through training camp, we'll feel pretty good about it, end quote. Feel pretty good about it. So here we are in May. The Packers haven't played since January, and they're not sure about Christian Watson's hamstring? Wow. Watch the Green Bay offense with number 9 and without number 9. He's a stud. Is he Amon-Ra? No. Christian Watson is a really good football player. But Matt LaFleur kind of, well, we'll see. Time will tell. Christian Watson continuing to have hamstring issues 4 months after the season ended. Interesting. 4 months after and they won't know. They'll feel pretty good about it if he can get through training camp. What happens if Christian Watson doesn't get through training camp? That's a big question mark for the Packers right now because they need him. He is clearly their number one receiver. That's Packer issue number one. Packer issue number two came from Devondre Campbell, the former Packers linebacker, yesterday on Twitter. Campbell, of course, left the Packers. They dumped him for salary cap reasons and cut him, and the Niners picked him up. Pretty good linebacker, not a great player, but a good player. Campbell tweeted out yesterday on his Twitter at came_along_way. Came a long way. Devondre Campbell. Quote, I can't even lie. I'm having so much fun playing football again. The situation I was in was making me lose my love for the game. But I'm back having fun again, and I love that for myself. Thank you, God, with prayer hands. End quote from Devondre Campbell. Ouch. Lost his love for the game playing in Green Bay. Now, Packers have a new defensive coordinator. Joe Barry, ex of the Lions, is now ex of the Packers. He was let go as well. But how about that? A former Packer who was just there last year says in Green Bay, didn't name them by name, but we know who he's talking about. Situation I was in was making me lose my love for the game. What's that say about what's going on up at Green Bay? Now, was Campbell just a bad seed? Was the Joe Barry situation just that bad? But that's pretty damning of the Packers, who still have the same linebackers coach, who still have the same head coach. Campbell taking a little bit of a dig at Green Bay and says he's in a much better situation and having fun again playing in San Francisco. That is something you will never hear here. That's something you used to hear here. Remember Darius Slay, Glover Quinn, Golden Tate? And I love all those. I like all those guys. But everybody, when they left here, took shots at the organization. Everybody, a lot of players did not enjoy the Patricia experience. Not everybody was on board with the Schwartz situation. Most of the players love Jim Caldwell, the Reverend. But right now, you talk about it, anytime people mention certain free agents coming here or anything else, I want to see their past. I want to see if they've chirped at the organization, if they've had issues off the field. Because that's just not kosher here in Detroit or in Allen Park. But here is Devondre Campbell sort of taking his swipes at the Packers for the situation that was last year in Green Bay. And again, that was a winning team that won a playoff game, winning in Dallas. And yes, Campbell wasn't the biggest contributor a year ago like he was 2 years ago. But man, talking about how he lost his love for football in Green Bay. And again, look, we're in May. All right. I'm sure the Packers have cleaned a lot of that up. I know a lot of the issues surrounding Green Bay's defense and underachieving at times was the scheme and their DC, Joe Barry, who's gone. That's still a Packers defense that is going to be darn good. We'll have good young draft picks. Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, players like that. Jair Alexander, very good corner. All right. But interesting to hear a former Packer taking the swipes at the organization and talking about not having a good time, not having fun playing for Green Bay. These are going to be two games. You look at the schedule at Lambeau, late afternoon, November 3rd, a 4:25 start, a national Fox game. And the Thursday night affair, December 5th on Amazon Prime at 8:15 at Ford Field. Those two games are going to be off the charts. Those are going to be two huge games because we're getting late into the season. Lions are going to see Green Bay until November and December. It's kind of cool. All right. Packers are deep offensively. They've got a quarterback in Jordan Love that people are raving about now. All right. Is he Aaron Rodgers yet? No. But you know, any little thing that Green Bay does, we're going to keep an eye on. And any little thing the Lions do, you know, Green Bay fans and media are keeping an eye on. Top of that NFC North is going to be really, really strong this year. Really strong. Packers were the youngest team in football last year and probably overachieved. Let's see if they come back down to earth, or if without Joe Barry, they're better. with the new defensive coordinator. We will have to wait and see on that. All right, coming up next, I mentioned before, the preseason schedule has been released. It's 3 games. It's not that big of a deal, but I do like the afternoon game. And I'll explain that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. Hey friends, Locked On Lions brought to you by FanDuel. It is winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. If you stayed up late last night and you bet on the Edmonton Oilers or the Vancouver Canucks, you were holding your breath at the end. It's a lot of fun to do that, right? And FanDuel is the place to put your wagers down on all of it. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. You want to put player props down tonight on the Tigers? Spencer Torkelson. Think he's going to hit a home run? Not that he does, but Riley Green, something like that. Salvador Perez of the Royals. You can do that at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. By the way, tonight, Boston, 10.5-point favorites over the Pacers. Let's go Pacers. You know I'm a big Indiana fan. Love me some Rick Carlisle. You can bet on the game at FanDuel.com. America's #1 sportsbook. Shout out to our everydayers that are out there and watching and listening each and every day right here on Locked On Lions. We appreciate you and immensely. First day of OTAs in the books for the Lions. Derek Barnes, by the way, was not participating today. Was pictured, I guess, on the sidelines, coming back from an injury, of course, at the end of last year as well. Good news, though, as we talked about at the top of the show, Dan Campbell was back, and that is absolutely awesome. All right, this morning, Lions finalized their exhibition schedule. We told you they were going to be playing the Giants in week 1 of the preseason, the Chiefs in week 2, and the Steelers in week 3 at Ford Field. The dates are as follows. So put this in your calendar. Although it's preseason, we're all going to be watching. Come on. Thursday night, August 8th at the Meadowlands, Lions Giants, 7 p.m. So that's a night game on Thursday, August 8th. Lions at the Chiefs will be a Saturday, August 17th game at 4 o'clock. By the way, Lions and Giants, I'm guessing, because Dan Campbell has referenced this before, are going to do a joint practices before that game on Thursday. Probably like a Monday, Tuesday, maybe, and then take Wednesday off. We'll see about that. And then the third preseason game, and I think this is cool, Lions and Steelers, Saturday, August 24th, 1 p.m. start. So the Lions are going to play on August 24th and then not play until September 8th. But what I like about the last preseason game is, for many of you, these tickets are really expensive. All right. They're a lot of money. And it's tough to take a family of 4 or family of 3 or whatever it is to a game these days. It's just a lot of money. This is an opportunity to see a cool opponent in Pittsburgh. There's something about those black helmets, the white uniforms or the yellow pants. Steelers are iconic. To come into Ford Field. And again, go on a Game Time right now. There's tickets as low as $55, $60 for that afternoon game. I like a Saturday at 1 o'clock. Kids can go. It's not every game's a night game. Not saying the kids can't stay up, but 1 o'clock day game, city will be jumping all day. I think that's pretty cool. So that's your schedule for the preseason. So mark it down. Night game on August 8th at the Giants. 4 o'clock start late afternoon at the Chiefs on Saturday, August 17th. And then the Steeler game Saturday, August 24th at Ford Field at 1 p.m. So that is your preseason schedule with the day game. So you can take your kids and see the Steelers. And again, let me tell you, I'll say this. Those 3 games are going to be the Hendon Hooker show. Jared Goff's not playing in the preseason. Jared Goff doesn't need to play in the preseason. He didn't play in the preseason last year. You're not going to see a lot of regulars. I think eventually we're going to see an 18-game NFL schedule, regular season, and 2 games in the preseason. Right now, we still have 3. Because the Lions have the extra home game this year in the regular season. They play just 1 preseason game at home. That's the Steeler game. We're going to be seeing a lot of Hendon Hooker and certainly Nate Sudfeld. And if the Lions sign any other quarterbacks. We're going to see the rookies for a little bit. Like I mentioned before, guys like Antoine Green, Isaiah Williams, Sione Vaki. We're going to see a lot of them coming up this preseason. That is for sure. All right, there's your Tuesday edition of a Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. OTAs starting up down in Allen Park, organized team activities. Again, those are voluntary, but it appeared to me, and just looking at about the 40 pictures that the Lions took, most of the guys are there. It speaks to the culture. It speaks to the leadership with the veteran players that the guys want to be here, right? Justin Jefferson is not at Vikings OTAs right now. There's other veteran players that want new contracts. Tristan Wirfs not at Bucs OTAs right now. So those were teams fighting with the Lions last year. The Bucs, of course, the Vikings within the division. All right. Thanks for checking us out, everybody, wherever you get your podcasts here on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are back again tomorrow.